a woman's horizon. Whatever men set about to impress women with counts for nothing in the world of women. Only another woman is of importance in her world. Of course, a woman will always be pleased if a man turns to look at her, and if he is well dressed or drives an expensive sports car, so much the better. Her pleasure may be compared to that of a shareholder who finds that his stocks have risen. It will be a matter of complete indifference to a woman if he is attractive or looks intelligent. A shareholder is hardly likely to notice the color of his dividend checks. But if another woman should turn to look, a rare occurrence, for her own judgment is infinitely more remorseless than that of a man. Her day is made. She has achieved the impossible, the recognition, admiration, and love of other women. Yes, only women exist in a woman's world, the women she meets at church, at parent-teacher meetings, or in the supermarket, the women with whom she chats over the garden fence, the women at parties or window shopping in the more fashionable streets, those she apparently never seems to notice. These women are the measure of her success or failure. Women's standards correspond to those in other women's heads, not to those in the heads of men. It is their judgment that really counts, not that of men. A simple word of praise from another woman, and all those clumsy, inadequate male compliments fall by the wayside, for they are just praises out of the mouths of amateurs. Men really have no idea in what kind of world women live in. Their hymns of praise miss all the vital points. Of course, woman wants to please man as well. Don't let us forget, after all, that he provides the material means. But that is much more easily done. Men have been conditioned to react to a certain degree of differentiation. They expect women to conform to certain types of sex symbols created by makeup and other standard trappings: long hair, painted lips, tight-fitting sweaters, miniskirts, sheer stockings, high heels, all done in a moment. It is those living works of art which are beyond man's comprehension, those creatures walking the fashionable streets of Paris, Rome, and New York. The skill of eyeliner and shadow expertly applied, the choice of lipstick and its application, with or without lip brush, in several layers, or only in one. The compromise to be achieved between the pros and cons of false eyelashes, the matching of a dress, a stole, or a coat with the lighting, all this is an art requiring expert knowledge of which man has no conception. A man lacks any kind of appreciation for this. He has not learnt to interpret the extent of female masquerades, and he cannot possibly evaluate these walking works of art. To achieve perfection in such skill needs time, money, and an infinitely limited mind. All these requirements are met by women. In fact, when a woman dresses, she considers a man to a slight extent, the extent necessary to hold him and to encourage him to provide, in the widest sense, for her. Every other investment is aimed at other women. Man has importance only as the provider. If a firm wants to get hold of a specialist in some field, it will flatter and entice him in every possible way until he weakens. Once the contract is signed, his employers can relax. Their leverage over him continues to increase. A woman behaves in much the same way with a man. She gives her man just enough rope to ensure his preferring life by her side to breaking his contract with her. A woman may, in fact, be compared to a firm in a number of ways. After all, a firm is only an impersonal system aimed at achieving a maximum profit. And what else does a woman do? Without any emotion, love, hate, or malice, she is bound to the man who works for her. Feelings become involved only if he threatens to leave her. Then her livelihood is at stake. As this is a rational reaction with a rational cause, it can be rationally dealt with and adjusted too. She can always place another man under contract. How different is her reaction from those of a man who finds himself in a similar position. He is racked by jealousy, humiliation, and self-pity, but she is emotionless. A woman would hardly ever feel jealous in such a situation, since the man is leaving her only for another woman and not in order to be free. In her eyes, he is not improving his position in any way. The adventure of a man's love for a new woman is nothing more than a nuisance. She is seeing it all from the angle of the entrepreneur who loses his best worker to a competitor. As far as a woman is concerned, the heartache involved is nothing more than a reaction to letting good business go elsewhere. Consequently, it is quite absurd for any man to think his wife is being faithful merely because she does not go off with other men who, in his eyes, are more attractive. Provided he is working hard and is supplying all the things that really matter to her, why should she? A woman's faithfulness has nothing in common with that of a man. Women are, in contrast to men, practically immune to the looks of the opposite sex. If a woman flirts with her husband's best friend, her intention is to annoy his wife, whose feelings do matter, unlike those of her own husband. If she felt deeply about the man in question, she would never show her emotions in public. In pluralistic sex practices such as wife-swapping, which has now taken over from flirtation as a pastime, it is the other wife who is the object of attack. History is full of anecdotes about male potentates enjoying themselves with many mistresses at the same time, but there are few such stories about female potentates. A woman would be bored to tears with an all-male harem. This has always been the case and will remain so. If women reacted to a man's external appearance, every current advertisement scheme would be useless. According to statistics, it is the female sector of the population who spends the most money. Money men earn for them. Manufacturers do not attempt to stimulate sales by advertisements displaying handsome he-men. On the contrary, no matter what they want to sell, package holidays, detergents, cars, bedroom suites, television sets, each advertisement flaunts a beautiful woman. Only very recently have film producers realized that a handsome hero is not essential to the success of a film. Women are quite content with an ugly star, Jean-Paul Belmondo, Walter Matthau, or Dustin Hoffman, and naturally men prefer them. With their sense of physical inferiority clue to the fact that they only very rarely consider themselves beautiful, they find it far easier to identify with an ugly star. As long as there is a beautiful female lead, a film with an ugly male star will be enjoyed by women as much as a movie starring Rock Hudson. For in reality, they are interested only in the women in the film. The reason men have remained blind to facts like these for such a long time is that they have been misled by the attacks women make on each other. When they hear a woman make derogatory remarks about another, her nose is too big, chest too flat, hips too wide, legs crooked, men, of course, assume that they can't stand each other or that women are not attracted by another woman's beauty. Yet how wrong they are. Any businessman, for example, who spends his life praising his competitors in front of his employees would be thought quite mad. Before long, half his best workers would have moved to the other firm. It is the same game that politicians play. Of course, they have to blacken each other's names, but if Nixon got stranded on a desert island, he would surely prefer the company of Kosygin or Castro to the much-praised man in the street who only elected him. After all, they have very little in common. If women were free of financial cares, the majority of them would probably prefer to spend their lives in the company of other women rather than with men. And not because they are all lesbians. What men call lesbian tendencies probably have little to do with a woman's sexual drive. No, the sexes have almost no interests in common. What, besides money, can bind a woman to a man? Women make ideal living companions for each other. Their feelings and instincts are retarded at the same primitive level, and there are almost no individualistic or eccentric women. It isn't difficult to imagine the paradise they would create together and how exciting their existence would be, even if the intellectual level was appallingly low. But who would worry about it?
Eagle 1, armed and ready.
Mag's empty! inbound! Calling in reinforcements!
Request approved. Reinforcements on the way.